live with the community. This is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Development bi-weekly call. Today is March 30th. We are almost to April, and it is snowing and raining and still feels like winter everywhere, but we are warm, gathered together as a community. So let's take a look at our agenda. We're going to get the latest updates on the communities. We're going to get PnP .NET library updates, PowerShell updates, latest on Teams Toolkit, Graph Toolkit, independent publisher connectors, all the projects. We're all excited. Then we're going to talk about a couple of samples, script samples, team samples, Power Platform samples, all the samples, and of course, everybody's favorite time, Picture time, where you're going to be able to show your fantastic faces. Then we are going to get to our trio of amazing all-stars of the day. Lee Ford is going to talk about having fun with DALL-E generated art in your team's conversations. André is going to cover list formatting, converting data into graphical information, so I can't wait to see that. And Matt, a first-time presenter, everybody, today, so let's show him some love, is going to talk about Companies House Independent Publisher Connector, how API integration, adds value. Thank you, Bessa. All right, let's get kicked off with some community resources that are available to all of you. We've got videos, Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community videos. You can absolutely subscribe to all of our video channels, and you should, because that's going to give you the latest and greatest updates in your inbox as soon as new videos are dropped. So you definitely want to be on the lookout for those. We've got LinkedIn groups for discussions. You can get to that at ak.ms/community/li. And then we've got open source projects across the ecosystem of Microsoft Office Dev, SharePoint, Graph, PnP. And did I mention a couple of samples? I think I did. Community samples all up at adoption.microsoft.com. And it's going to give you everything from the team samples, SPFX samples, extensions, Power Platform, list formatting, script samples, so many more. All you need to do is remember every single one of these URLs. Nah, I'm kidding. Just one, ak.ms/community/home will give you access to all this goodness. So definitely don't hesitate to utilize some of these resources or all of them, because they're here for you. Now, if you like community calls, well, we got those too. Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community calls. So the first one to be aware of is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform weekly call with Microsoft speakers. What does this mean? It means that you were going to get it directly from the mothership. These are only Microsoft presenters. So product managers, platform managers, program managers, all the managers, all the workers, all the Microsoft people we love are going to be showing off amazing stuff that you can see on these calls and interact with and ask questions about. It's on Tuesday. We'll see the agenda here in a moment. Then we've got our Power Platform monthly call that is available to us all, and we love to see all the makers doing their amazing things. Identity Platform Office add-ins, and then of course our two bi-weekly calls, Microsoft 365 Power Platform and VV Connections and SharePoint Framework. You are in the M365 and Power Platform today. You can get access to all these invites, add them to your calendar so you don't miss out, and also see them published on social media at the meetup. At ak.ms/community/meetup. Get access to all this stuff at ak.ms/community/calls. Now, you may want to actually present on these, and we want you to present on these. It could be a technical demo. It could be a pattern. It could be a story around how you succeeded in adopting technology. We want to have you share it with everyone in the community, and we made it easy for you to request a spot. You just go to ak.ms/community/request/demo. Don't forget all the slashes, and we will make sure that we get you scheduled in. It is a very easy process, and we'll reach out to you and let you know. So definitely don't hesitate to do that. Now, that Microsoft speakers call I mentioned, we got one coming up next week, 4th of April. Bob German is going to be talking about building a Teams meeting app with LiveShare SDK. Rajeep is going to give us the latest on the Microsoft Graph connectors and TBD. Woo-hoo! Did we just drop a little teaser? I think we did. Microsoft Graph Hackathon winner demo number one. So we are looking forward to that. Thank you. Oh, you mean for them? Yes, of course for them. We want the winners to be congratulated. So definitely show up. You can get the invite at ak.ms/community/ms-speakers-call-invite. We like our dashes too. What can I say? Now, if you want to get involved in all these things, but you're not quite sure where to start, we got you covered. Hugo, tell us a little bit about the opportunities.
Do we have you covered? Well, we have this initiative called Sharing is Caring, which allows you to learn the skills that you need to actually get started with contributing to the community. These sessions are live, hands-on, never recorded, and we take things very seriously. We never joke around, because it's David and I usually that are running these shows, so it's very serious and very to the point. We have a general first-time contributor session where we teach you how to contribute to GitHub. We have a Power Platform samples contributor where we dig a little bit deeper on GitHub contributions for the Power Platform sample repositories, as well as a few other sessions. We have new sessions scheduled for April. To sign up, just go to aka.ms/sharing-is-caring, and we look forward to see you there. And then once you have contributed to the community, you will be recognized through the community recognition program. So this is a great way to showcase your contributions, to show people that you know your stuff and you've been helping with the open source initiatives and the various initiatives that we have. All you need to do is to actually go to aka.ms/community/recognition to register. And what this will do is we'll associate your GitHub user with your email address, and then we will send you badges as you achieve contributions. We'll send you badges through Credly, the same Credly that powers the Microsoft certification badges, and that is no cost to you. We cover all the cost. All we need is for you to register and contribute, and the magic will happen. And with that, let's pass it back to David.
Awesome. Thank you, Hugo. Absolutely. And we get the end of the month here, so we're going to be processing those here in the next couple of days. So be on the lookout for those, everybody. Now let's look into some project-specific updates. And so for that, we'll turn it over to Bert.
Yes. Hello, everyone. For the .NET world, I think we have some good news coming. We'll finally we'll be releasing next versions of Framework and Core SDK. Actually, I planned to do it today, but for some reason, I discovered that my signing certificate for code signing was expired. So little bump in the road, but fixing that, and hopefully by tomorrow, we'll get those new builds out for you all. Now, what changed this week? Not that much in here. There's, I think, one change to mention. That's from Martin. He did add support for moving list items. So if you take a regular list item, you can now move it to another folder inside the same library or list. And that sums it up for me. Let's move to PowerShell. Thank you all.
Thanks, Bert. So yeah, in PnP PowerShell, yep, if all goes well, we are going to release the 2.0 tomorrow. Hopefully, Bert's expert certificate gets renewed. So yeah, what the latest in PnP PowerShell 2.0 is that we have basically dropped support for PowerShell 5, and so that for that you will have to require PowerShell 7.2 or later to be installed on your machines wherever you are using the PnP PowerShell module. Besides that, in the latest nightly builds, what we have done is we have added the Get PnP SharePoint add-in, which lists out all the SharePoint add-ins that have been installed in certain site collections. We also added a PnP Azure ACS principle to list out all the Azure ACS principle that you're using for certain tasks that you might be doing. We also added support for app logo when you are using the register PnP Azure AD app. And we improved the send PnP mail commandlet to also use graph if you want to use that as well. One other nice improvement was to the set PnP list commandlet, where we added the disable commenting parameter so that if you don't want to see the comments, then you can do that as well. Yeah, and one more thing is related to this 2.0 release. We've also done major quality of life improvements as well. So all the underlying dependencies that we used, like the msal.net and other libraries, we have bumped those versions to major versions so that they are keeping up with the ones that are available available. So that's what we have done. Yeah, we've also had a nice migration guide for you to migrate to the 2.0 version as well. So feel free to check that out. And yep, besides that, would absolutely love to hear from you in the discussion forums or on the issue list on GitHub. So yeah, thank you. Over to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Gautam. All right, let's move into Yo Teams. We have new releases, Generator Teams 4.1, Yo Teams Build Core 1.81 preview, and Yo Teams Deploy 1.4.0. Added support for Teams Manifest 1.14 and 1.15. Fixed some minor things in the generators and docs. So please give it a try and PM install Generator Teams-Global. So preparing for 4.2, preparing to go to hyperspeed. We are preparing for 4.2. Fix the invalid HTML and generated tabs. So thank you, Appy. Docs, right? Your help is always welcome. There's a VS Code extension for Yo Teams, and so they're working on that. Definitely, please don't hesitate to reach out and get involved. The team is fantastic and loves to collaborate. So we absolutely welcome you to reach out. Don't be afraid. They're a fantastic team that loves to work together with everybody. All right, let's move on to Microsoft Teams Toolkit with Jan.
Thanks, David. Same thing as pretty much last time. We're working on the pre-release, so this is the next major upgrade for Teams Toolkit, and that really focuses on the composable automation tasks that we've been building. Yesterday, we also have a new release or new piece in there for doing Office add-ins. You can take a look at that. There's a blog post on that as well. And the next major thing that we're working on is refreshing the CLI experience. I didn't put a note in there about that, but we're building that. So if you're interested in the CLI experience, reach out. And if you're a .NET developer, we're also shifting some focus on the VS experience. So we'd like to hear from you and see what we can do there. So if you're a .NET developer, definitely check out this AKMS TTK chat. I'll schedule some time with me. Love to have just a casual conversation, find out what challenges you have and what you need. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, John. All right. Microsoft Graph Toolkit, or otherwise known as MGT, just shipped v2.9.2. So it's the latest stable release. You can update your packages at aka.ms/mgt/2.9.2. Just shipped 3.0 preview. So that is exciting. Check it out. Try it out. The MGT samples repository is live. Again, this is one that you would love your help. You can help fix bugs. You can help build improve features. Seb is a fantastic collaborator as well. There's also good first issue. So if you're looking to get involved and you're looking for maybe a lightweight entry, check out aka.ms/mgt/issues. Now let's move over to independent publisher connectors with Jocelyn.
I know that David said it still feels like winter, but it feels like spring in the world of connectors. You guys see my flowers? Yes, we are springing towards our end of fiscal year goal of 1,000, probably over a month early. So nonstop growth here. We now are at a total of 976 total connectors, 7 more than we were at last time we spoke, with 253 from independent publishers, 236 from first party, and 487 from verified publisher owners across all of Power Automate, Power Apps, and Azure Logic Apps. I would like to welcome 3 new independent publishers to our community. Welcome Glenn, Oscar, and Rashmi. Thank you guys so much for your contributions. And we also have 5 new specific independent publisher connectors in the last 2 weeks: Worldwide Bank Holidays, WebEx Integration, Cohere, Exact Time and Billing, and Pushover. Our platform is growing so immensely. We're really, springing into growth here. And if you guys cannot get enough connector content, please scan that QR code or wait for the link in the chat to join the connector-specific call. This is the Connector Labs integrations call with me, where you can learn more about connector-specific topics, see connector demos, and also learn about other topics in the Power Platform-related area. Don't hesitate to reach out or to check out our repo. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Joss. And it's still sticking around because he loves us, Paul Bullock on script samples.
Absolutely. So we got some script samples as a repository for storing your PowerShell scripts with multiple tools. So whether it's be Microsoft Graph or PnP PowerShell, SPA Management Shell, a whole plethora of tools that you can squeeze into there. We support that, so we support those submissions. So we've got a few new samples, some awesome samples submitted for PnP PowerShell. So we've got change SharePoint online list URL by Ganesh Snap. He also submitted another sample called disable SharePoint list commenting at list level as well. Casper Larson has submitted a sample for exporting user profiles to CSV, and Valo number 2 submitted an update to that includes a CLI for M365 version for, again, exporting a user profile to CSV. So it's a great collaboration between those two on that piece. And then we've got some updates to the add and update image SharePoint image column by Matt Jimson to allow support for PnP Power Apps as well. Please reach out if you've got any issues or you need help. So I'm available via GitHub, LinkedIn, Twitter. So I'm open to DMs if you want any help get going. We absolutely welcome your contributions. And remember that there is a badge. So remember to opt into that badge. You get a nice badge for your contribution. So I thank you for all of your hard work with there. So over to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. And friends, this is one of the easiest ways to get involved. Every one of us have one of those utility scripts, and you should absolutely share. So reach out. Chat with Paul. He would love it. All right, let's move over to Microsoft Teams samples with Bob German.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, David. Well, let's see. The featured sample this week is really based on an announcement that happened yesterday, which John also alluded to in the Teams Toolkit side, which is that they're actually working to unify the add-in model and the Teams app model as it pertains to, say, Outlook, Microsoft 365 application, etc. So that's pretty cool. There was a big broadcast about that yesterday. So I thought a great example would be, for today, would be to show something that also feeds into that same story of having your app work in Outlook and in Teams, and that is adaptive card universal actions. So you can build a card that works in both places and deploy it now in an app that works in both places. So this is a cool demo from Rabia Williams that shows how the universal actions work so you can run one card in both places. Finally, just a really quick note here in the upper right corner, you'll see the Teams ecosystem engineering team and global partner support teams are looking for independent software vendors who want to build apps that actually make money. Now, who wants to make money? I don't know, but there must be somebody out there who wants to build an app, put it in the store, and then let people buy it. Microsoft, charges the customer and sends 97% of the revenue to you. So if you want some help with that, please go to aka.ms/teamsapp/support, and that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Bob. Cha-ching! That was actually a physical sound effect. I know it was hard to tell.
Very good.
Awesome. There you go. Thank you, Vesa. That they had it ready. All right, let's go back to Hugo for Power Platform samples.
All right, very quickly, we have some new samples. One by Natty Turtle Dove, which is a quality assurance assessment solution, and it uses Power Platform pipelines to actually allow you to walk your solution through the proper quality assurance process. We have a Power Happening model-driven application that uses a fancy drag and drop. That's one that shows up right now by Wilmer Alcivar and Ben Den Blanken. And we have the updated name pronunciation recorder by Lindsay Shelton. We love samples. Please don't hesitate to contribute. Daniel Leskowitz and I are going to be working over the next few weeks to actually improve the sample repositories to help process them faster and to make it easier to actually submit complete solutions across the board. So that's it for me. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Hugo. It is that time. It is picture time. So Vessa's going to take on over, and he is going to share. There you go. Perfect.
Yep. Right on time. We have 50 seats in the room. So let's see who we get this time. A lot of familiar faces. Let's wait for a while. We're not yet recording. Let's get the 50 full. Yes, I can see Appy being an example on the middle. There we go. That's really good. That's really good. Oh, beautiful flowers right next to me. There we go. And Hugo, there we go. There we go. I guess we're filling in fast. Let's put the recording on and let's do some hand waving. And Bob, I have no idea what you're doing, but let's keep on waving.
I like how you said beautiful flowers next to me and then Hugo.
That's true. Excellent. That's a great GIF animation. Thanks everybody for joining once again. Hopefully we'll see you in the conferences in the spring in person as well. But let's get back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Vesa. All right, everybody. Well, it is that time. We are going to see our trifecta of amazing presenters. We're going to begin with Lee Ford. Have fun with DALL-E generated art in your team's conversations. Lee, take it on over.
Thanks. Okay, let me share my screen and then we can begin. So bear with me. Welcome, everyone. My name is Lee Ford. And today it's a bit of a fun session. It's talking about having fun with AI in Teams. So it's not a particularly serious conversation. It's more just kind of a bit of a fun to show how easy it is to kind of implement AI into a Teams app. So we haven't got much time, so I'm going to get started. So quick bit about myself. I'm based in the UK. You can follow me on Twitter. Put most of my samples on GitHub. I've got a blog, which I blog very occasionally at, but I do it, every other month or something like that. I mainly work in M365 workloads, hence being on this call. I do like to write code for a living and as a hobby, so hence why I'm talking today. I like to do a bit of exercise and a bit of DIY, just enough DIY to be dangerous anyway. So, okay, so what we're going to talk about is, obviously we're going to talk about DALL-E. We're going to talk about what it is, what you can do with it, and how you can use it. And then we're going to talk about how that then maps into Teams. So how do we implement into Teams and what can we do with it in Teams? So We haven't got a lot of time, so I'm going to kind of go through that pretty quickly. So we're going to talk about OpenAI, and we're not going to talk about ChatGPT and all that. But OpenAI obviously offers different products, and obviously the main one that we're talking about here is DALL-E 2. Allows you to generate an image from a description, and we'll go over that in a bit more detail in a second. But obviously we know the other ones like GPT and ChatGPT and another one, Whisper. Those are different services. DALL-E 2 is just another one of those OpenAI services. So it's not its own company or anything like that. It's just part of the OpenAI suite. So if you've got access to the other APIs, you'll have access to DALL-E 2 as well. So what is it? It allows you to generate an image from a text input. So a dog eating an ice cream wearing a hat. You can type whatever you want, and it will generate what it thinks you're asking for. You can be a bit more descriptive. So you can say it needs to look like an oil painting, or it needs to look hand drawn, or whatever. And then it will kind of use the AI power to kind of try and get what you're asking for. It's not always great, doesn't always work exactly like AI, doesn't always work exactly as you intend, but that's the general kind of gist of it. So how it's priced is depending on how high resolution the image needs to be, depends how much the image costs. And in addition to this, you can also request to have multiple attempts. So you could say a dog eating ice cream wearing a hat, and you could say, and I want 5 different variations on that image, and then you can choose which one you want to use. But ultimately, you've paid for all 5 to be generated. So you would pay, in this case, let's say at higher resolution, you pay 2 cents per image, even if you only really wanted one of the 5 to be used. So today, we're just going to talk about a particular scenario, which is there's no easy way for me to find an obscure picture of a photo that I want to insert into a Teams conversation. So, maybe having a bit of a laugh or a joke with a colleague, and it'll be good if there was a photo that existed of this particular thing. Obviously, it doesn't exist in the world, but I can use the power of AI. I can generate that picture or that image, and then insert it into a Teams conversation. So, what we're going to do is we're going to use Teams messaging extension. It seems to be used interchangeably, but I'll call it message extension. And the idea here is that you can access it by clicking the 3 dots on a message, and then using it to generate an image, or it's actually also at the bottom of the message bar, with sort of the compose message bar at the bottom of Teams. You can also access it from there. So what a message extension is used for is it's interacting with existing, or in this case, what we're going to be doing today is a new message. So the idea is that I want to insert something into the conversation. It can be used in a sort of a group conversation. It can be used in a personal conversation, or it can be used inside of a team conversation. So quickly go over what the solution overview I have today. Obviously, this doesn't have to be what you would use. It's just what I've used for the demo. So we effectively have someone using a Teams client. They're sending a request, i.e. they're opening up the message extension. That then gets sent to bot services. So even though we're not really using a bot in the truest sense, we're not having a conversation or anything like that, we are still using a bot framework to facilitate this. And using the Bot Framework SDK from a code perspective. And the idea is that the Teams client talks to the bot services, which is hosted in Azure. That then gets relayed to wherever your code is running. In this case, I've got it running in an Azure function. And then I'm calling OpenAI API to generate the image. And then that effectively generates a link where the image is located. In this case, I think they use Azure Blob Storage. And then we then feed that back through to the Teams client with the image inside an adaptive card. So we'll quickly go over if we don't have a lot of time, I'll quickly go over the it working. We'll do a quick prayer to the demo guard to make sure it's all good. But yes, so I have done a few ones, like I asked it to draw a dog saying choose love, and we've got chove love, but it's near enough. And we've also got some sort of personal conversations here, so just with our good friend Joanna. So these are previous ones that I've tested earlier, so hopefully, fingers crossed, it will work now. So the idea is that we bring up the messaging extensions. Obviously, you've got all these usual ones in there. I'll create one called DALL-E 2. And the idea is that it'll bring up a prompt, and it'll say, right, what's the description of the image? So I'll just put a cat and dog / successfully on a couch. Okay, now I'm not sure what's going to happen. Hopefully it's safe for work, but this is AI, so who can say? Okay, I think that's a dog and a cat. We'll go with it. I'm not entirely sure if it's half dog, half cat, but we'll go with it. The idea is I could edit and I could change the the description, but for brevity, let's just say, yeah, that's good. And the idea is I can click send, and then that appears as a new message inside the conversation. And obviously we include the description to say this is what I've asked for, this is what it's given me. And that's about it from a demo perspective. I could write some more, but ultimately it works that way every time. Now, as far as what we need for it to work, as I mentioned, there is a bot service, Azure bot, whatever you want to call it, and that sits in Azure, and that's effectively the proxy between my code and the Teams client. So we have given it a very generic name, but you could call it whatever you wanted to in here. Obviously, you can upload an icon. And from a config point of view, it's actually really, really straightforward. We actually just point it at the wherever the code is listening on a HTTP endpoint. So in this case, I've got it tunneling back through to my local machine where it's running in VS Code, but ultimately this could be in Azure or wherever. So that's it from a config, except for actually just the channels. So the only other thing I've done in here is I've enabled the Teams channel to allow the bot service to receive requests from Teams. And that's it from a kind of configuration point of view. As far as code goes, we have couple of files really, and that's about it as far as how it works. So we have I'm just going to zoom in ever slightly just to make it look bigger. We have a sort of wrapper for the Azure function. So this is the / messages endpoint, and effectively what we're doing in here is that the main thing is we have an activity handler, and that handles all the different types of activities that the message extension would send to on a HTTP request. So we won't really worry about too much of how we set up the bot adapter, but ultimately the main part of the code is this bot file. And in here we have it's extending the Teams activity handler. So these are Teams specific activities for bot framework. They're not ones that you could use in web chat or anything like that. And effectively these methods are used for different purposes. So the first one is handle Teams messaging extension fetch task. So this is what gets run when you click on the message extension for the first time and it opens up. And if you remember, it had a prompt to say, please enter what you want the AI to generate. In this case, I've got just a helper function that's effectively creating an adaptive card, and I'll go through the adaptive card in a second. And it's then returning effectively the adaptive card alongside the message extension action response. And obviously you can set the size and the height and what the title of the card is going to be and so on. So that's what happens when you click the message extension. And then once the message extension submit action is sent, this is when I've completed saying I want a dog and a cat lying on a couch. When I click send, that then triggers this activity. And in here, we're effectively passing through the OpenAI API key as an environment variable. And then we are effectively just using the OpenAI module where we're creating an image, and all we're doing is we're passing through the image description, which is one of the fields in the adaptive card. Or saying this is the number of images that we want to be generated. So obviously we're only generating one. We could generate 5 and have the user choose, but just to keep it simple, we're just generating one. And then again, this going back to the size of image that we want it to generate, and this again leads back to the cost of, if you want a large image, it's going to cost more. Once we've got the response, we then effectively inject this back into the adaptive card response, and I'll go over the adaptive cards in a second, but ultimately we're passing through the URL and the description of the image. That's what was asked for. So, I asked for an image to be of whatever a type. This then inserts that back into the adaptive card response. So if I quickly look at the image response, we effectively have a really basic adaptive card. We've got the description as an accessible speech option, so it will describe it for sort of accessibility reasons, but then also inside the adaptive card, we have a text block with the description, and then we just have an image that links back to the image that the OpenAI API has generated of the image. So once we've generated the active card, we then have the ability to create an activity preview. And the activity preview is when it says, this is what I'm going to put in the chat, and then you've got a send button or an edit button. If you click edit, it goes back to the previous step. If you click send, then it inserts into the conversation. So that's what they call a bot message preview type of response. Handle editing of results, that's when you click edit. So you go, actually, and that's not quite what I wanted. I click edit, that then sends it back to the original step. So again, we're then generating the prompt to say, what would you like? And then finally, the final method is when we've got the prompt to say, this is what I want, we're going to insert into the conversation. Are you okay? You click send, it then triggers this activity. And this is effectively, it's using the bot framework to basically say, yep, okay, we're going to send the activity preview from the previous step, and then effectively it posts it as a message into the conversation. So previously to this point, nothing's been inserted into the conversation. It's just been inside the message extension sort of pop out. This effectively then posts it into the channel or to the conversation, and we add an on behalf of bit of data to show that it's not me personally that's inserted it, but a bot has inserted it on my behalf. And I think that is it from a code perspective, really. That's everything we have. So I'll just quickly go back to the slides. And final thing to say is already on PnP dev samples. So if you do want to have a look, try it out for yourself, then please do, and let me know how you get on. And that's it for me.
Awesome, Lee. Very, very cool stuff. I appreciate how you brought fun and technology together, and that's important for us to utilize as a community and in our work. All right. Questions, put them in the chat for Lee, and we'll have an opportunity to chat about those later, how you can engage with them. Let's move on to André on list formatting and convert data into graphical information. So André, feel free to take on over.
Hello, first of all, my name is André Lage. I work for a Swiss company that is called Datalynx, and I'm a solution manager for Microsoft Technologies itself. So the key here that I want to talk today is one of the points that I'm always constantly getting, that is, okay, we have the data from the SharePoint list, how we can put it on the SharePoint page, how can we put it better in a process point of view that we have a process oriented, and we want to create options that can be easily displayed, even create some type of interaction itself. So I try to create this bunch of options that you can add and use on your current SharePoint page itself. So this is the bunch of solutions that I want to talk today. And the idea here is to use the normal process when you create a list, you define your business content, and then this is the layer where the list formatting goes, that is with the content presentation, plus including some dynamic content. Here, I also include some SVGs that will include some movement during our content. So we have our process that you can easily identify when you go to your PowerPoint and you want to create some smart art like a pyramid or circles or a life cycle process. And I try to transform it also on the list formatting itself. Why? I want to give them more increase in the engagement between the users and the business content, and also to improve the design and the interaction between the users. So the first one is the ability to create a process arrows. So basically, this is nothing more than a bunch of geometrical shapes that they are designed using the HTML, and also include some SVG files that they are generated on the fly. That's why you can see here, create the file SVG, and this will have some type of dynamic representation. As you can see also on the colors, there is one color that is stronger, and then there is another one that is not that strong. And what I do is I use the RGB plus opacity that create this harmony on the color itself, plus the full process. Of course, all these controls that I have they are also fitted to work on the mobile view. So this is how the control is constructed. The second one is a life cycle process itself. A lot of times we already see this when we are doing some continuous integration, continuous development, but we also want to transmit it and to deploy and to show also to the main solution to the users itself, that how we can use it and how we can produce it. So again, we use the same technique of using the geometrical shapes, and we use the combination of the process itself. And any moment, as you can see, the same way you can see it, you can also transform for the mobile view, and automatically will appear the content. As you see, block by block. Next one is the growth importance itself. So we have a bunch of orders that we can slowly grow in the importance and how we can represent and display this information itself. The key here is using the HTML and the CSS with C-index, we can always overlay the content that the content will display the right way itself. Then we have the last one of the last ones, that is the pyramid. And here I made two options, one with the CSS, another with SVG, that are generated on the fly based on the meta information that you have on the SharePoint list. Well, the advantage of the SVG, this will always fit on the right mobile and the view that we have it there. And I'm going to show. We have the matrix. Everybody already made a PCG and some content, and they wanted to present and to show this information to the user where he can interact and see what is the process itself. The same way it is displayed on the desktop can also be visualized on the mobile view. And then we have another option that we have, that is a time lapse that I try to reorder the colors and also create some type of opaquity that creates some type of integration on the time lapse. For this example, we have one that I use a SharePoint list, but I have a second one that I use the person field, and I will be able to choose multiple users, and automatically will create like a wave of accounts that will display and will be easier to interact when are we selecting users directly on the list form itself. I'm also going to show. And the last one is the welcome one. Who don't like to arrive to your SharePoint site and you can access to your site and say, okay, we have this good morning. And then what I do, I go to the time format, and this can be between 12 hours or 24 hours. And I can see here on the right, I try to calculate between 5 in the morning until midday. I will say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and then good night, depending on the hours. These options is already on the list formatting, and you can also use it. Of course, I also pick the image of the user that is selected, and I'm going to display. So let's go toward them itself. So I'm going to my SharePoint site, and I think this is my SharePoint site, and I have it here is based on the list formatting itself. Like I told it on my last point, this is how we can present. We arrive to the site, we see our content display, and we have here our welcome. How this is done? If we go to the content, to the welcome, you're going to see there is a validation that I'm trying to validate between 5 in the morning until 12. Okay, this will be good morning. Of course, it will always depend if you are in US, if you are in Japan, or you are in Europe. The time will be, of course, different, and the calculation will be based on the date format that we get it on that moment. Of course, I pick the user, and then I also pick using the functions from list formatting. I also pick the user that is accessing on this moment itself. So returning to all the examples, let's go to the big ones, the ones that people like to have it. So we have here the full process itself, and you see there was some interaction itself. The first thing that we do is we have the information from the SharePoint list, and we can choose some content and colors that will interact with itself. And this is the RGBA with opaquity. We select the colors, we select our content, and we can display it itself. So I'm just going to see here how this is being working. So on the background, and I'm going to increase it. Now it's too much. So what I have done is create the different shapes, and I included the different points. As you can see, the text was moving itself, but I can include some additional interactions. For example, if I include the following, I have a shooting star that is coming from there that can show up the content itself. Or if we want to have a little more complex, we can also unblock it. And also we have, for example, a flying horse itself, where this information is stored. So basically, I have a support library that is my SVG, where all this content is created and stored itself. As you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. What happened? So I have a workflow. So when I create a new entry, he'll generate the SVG that automatically will save for that specific position. and then he will display directly on the site. So I will go here, and he'll pick the content. In this case, the title 1, the title 2, and title 3, and he'll create and generate the content based on the needs that we have it. Let's go to the second option that we have it here, that is the growing content itself. As you can see here, we are using also the form that we can grow and increase the process. Here, the content is nothing more than circles, but the key point is the C index. C index will overlay the content we want to display. So, for example, if I remove them, of course, by hierarchy order, the last one will always overtake. So I just use the current C index that I can use it and can reorder that can be interacted. And of course, with this, we can click it and he will provide the additional information. A little more complex. So we have a little more complex, the process and the diagram. To have a normal workflow and process diagram, that is a business relation associated between them. But we can also associate using the filters. If I choose some of the filters, as you can see, is moving and interacting based on our own needs. So I'm creating blocks of 4 different items, and he will create different interactions of the content itself. So when I go there, he'll create and he'll interact at the different process itself. It's a little more complex because there are multiple options created between themselves, but the order, like I showed on my presentation, the different orders plus the opacity will give this visual representation of the content that we have. Then we have the content of the pyramid. When we see it here, we can click it and we have some interaction. If you go directly to the content of this, as you can see, this is look like, oh, this is not a list formatting. What is happening here? So what is happening is nothing more that I'm the same way I did it for the processual one. I create a dynamic SVG that will interact and will create the trapezoids based on my business needs. In this case, what is the order of my pyramid? And this will reshape for the different actions. And the same when I need to display the content, I will use the content from list formatting. What is the benefit of using this option? This with SVG, you can automatically fit to your own mobile phone. But if we use it only the CSS, this will be more restricted. So if we try to reduce it, this will not automatically fit. And so there is this challenge between HTML or SVG, and the SVG sometimes is better than using directly the CSS. It's just a question how we make the association, make the right content, and how we can easily interact with the current business. As you can see here, for the pyramid, only use HTML without the SVG. You just need to make a lot of calculation with a block of 4, and he'll create pyramids of every time for each one of the 4. We go return to our content itself, and then as you can see, we are seeing already movement and content, and that is more easy and nice to interact with the user itself. Then we have the time lapse. What happened here is I create a sequence, and you can see that it's a union of the content that we are accessing here. And the same option that I use it for vertical, I also use for horizontal. So I'm going to access to my form for my list. As you can see here, I have a field from user that is called approvers, and automatically they are displaying the user and the image itself. If I remove it, he'll automatically rethink it. Imagine if you have 10 users and you want to have a better presentation, a better header on your SharePoint list. This operation can give you like a wave of how you can use your customer, and it's more easy and nice to interact with your content itself. So returning to the content, we also have the last point, that is the informatics, that is for matrix. How many times you need to create a PCG or some matrix, and you need to create this interaction itself using the content. So what is being done, I just create orders and options that based on the 4 items, and I try to define lines that each one of the block, visually each one of the block will have his own representation. If I go to the format view, as you can see, basically based on the row that I get it, I use the mathematical calculation mode, and based on the 4 items that I get it, he'll organize for the different pages that will display like a PCG. For example, if I return to my sample, this is a very basic concept itself, but I can have it a very more complex one. And voila, this is one option how you can have it a better BCG matrix with business logic and business content that can easily be understood by the user itself. And of course, if we go and we focus this content as a mobile view, you can see that will be automatically try to reorder the content in a way that can be easily fitable for the mobile view. In this case, there was a small action, so just try. The triangle already fit for the mobile view, the time lapse, the matrix also reshape it, but will be easier and more user-friendly that fits also the different layers itself. Of course, we also have some information content, or if you want to have it a little more interesting, you can even create balloons with the content of how this will interact. As you can see, it's a lot of HTML and how we can position and put the content that in a way that can easily interact with the customer itself. And that's what I want to show. All these options, some I need to add, some already are in the list formatting. And the idea here is I want to provide these different samples that can help you to improve and interact more with the users and to create more dynamic content on your SharePoint page using the list formatting itself. David, that's everything from my side. I pass to you.
Okay, thank you, André. Woo, that is a lot of awesome stuff. I might have to go back and watch that a little slower because it is so much good stuff. We're going to have you back and show you just some in depth on a couple of those too so that we can learn a little bit more. Really, really awesome. Okay, now, last but not least, Matt Collins-Jones is going to talk to us about Companies House Independent Publisher Connector, how API integration adds value. Let's give Matt a warm welcome. This is his first demo. Matt, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, guys. I will be talking about Companies House Connector. It's an independent publisher connector that I created and published last year, I think it was now. And we're going to talk about how the API can add value to organizations. A little bit about me. I'm Matt Collins-Jones. Most people call me MCJ these days. I've been working with business applications for about 10+ years. I'm a big Power Platform fan. My job role is Senior Power Platform Solution Architect. I'm also a cat dad. Those are my 2 cats, and I'm also a dad. And you can find all my social medias and things in those links right there. So let's talk a little bit about how we use APIs in the Power Platform to add value. So there's different ways to call APIs. This is a little bit of a generic slide, so do bear with me, but it's all about showing different use cases here. So we can call an API through a HTTP action in a Cloud Flow. This has some advantages. It takes very little time to do. You can build it, you can test it really, really quickly, and it's great. You're good to go. It does have some disadvantages though. You have to rebuild it each time you want to use it, or you have to make it reusable. So putting it in a child flow and calling it and then handling all those calls and things like that. You may need to update it in multiple places. So you may change the API key, or you need to get a different piece of information, meaning you need to update it in different places where it's deployed to. And these things are also slightly hard to govern. You can turn it on or turn it off, the HTTP action. There's very little you can do elsewhere. There are some things you can do, but not for the majority of it. So that if you have an API that you want to connect to, that you're going to be consuming data from regularly, most of the times you don't want to make a custom connector. So a custom connector has a couple of advantages. It can be used across flows and Power Apps very easily, and it can be governed specifically through DLP as well. But it does have some disadvantages. These are only available in environments where it is deployed. This kind of sounds a bit stupid to say out loud. It's only available where you deploy it. Yeah, that makes sense. But if you have like a small organization that maybe has a dev, a test, and a prod, then deploying it to those 3 environments is fairly standard and fairly straightforward. If you have an organization that has dozens or even hundreds of environments and they all want to consume this bit of data, it becomes a little bit more problematic. There's no central way to update this connector if it's deployed across multiple environments. You have to do the deployment each time so that you can update it if you make a change or a bug fix. It also takes a little bit longer to write than the regular HTTP action as well. Now, if you think that the API that you're working with is going to add value to not only your organization, but also other organizations, you can go down the independent publisher route. So it's taking a custom connector, submitting it to Microsoft, and becoming an independent publisher for that connector. This has a few advantages. These, again, can be used across flows and apps easily and can be governed through the DLP. They can be used in any environment worldwide. That's the big thing here. That's the reason why this is so great, is that no matter where you are in the world, and again, there's a caveat, some environments it may not be available, you can use this worldwide. In any environment, it's always going to be there, DLP permitting, of course. And it can be centrally updated. You can create a bug fix and you can submit that to Microsoft and they'll push that bug fix out or add that additional feature out to the entire worldwide community so it can be centrally updated. You also don't need to own the API. This is really key here. A lot of organizations have their own APIs, but they're not building connectors for them in the Power Platform. You don't have to be the owner of that API to submit a connector to the independent publishers. You also get a shiny badge from the PnP community as well if you do that. The disadvantages, it can take a little bit longer than the HTTP action or the custom connector as well. So let's have a quick demo. So I thought what we would do is we take a look at Companies House. So Companies House, if you're not familiar with it, is a government organisation that collates and maintains data about companies in the UK. So if I go to Companies House, I can search for a company. So if I search Microsoft, I can find a couple of entries from Microsoft here. So we'll look at the one in Microsoft UK. And what we'll do is we will grab the company number, which is this one up here. And we'll go through to our apps. So I thought I'd do this on the fly, hoping the demo gods won't strike me down for this. I'll create a new account in my database instance in my model-driven app. We'll call the account name Microsoft. And we'll put in the account number that we just got. We'll hit save, and we've created that record. Now, what the Companies House Connector allows you to do is it allows you to go off and retrieve information about a company. So in this instance, you may have tendencies where a company will have one name that it's known by, but also another one where it is a trading name for legal reasons. And you can also get some other details about a company as well. So I've added in a custom button onto my ribbon at the top here that says Companies House, a little smiley face. If you press the button, it's going to pop open a little custom page. If I click run the flow on the custom page, it's going to trigger my flow. It's going to bring back that the Microsoft Limited is the trading name for this Microsoft Corporation. And it's also populated in these address details here. So I did all this so that you can see there's no camera trickery, nothing behind the scenes. It's just going off, getting that data and pulling it back. So let's take a look at how this flow works. So this flow is triggered from a Canvas app, it's triggered from a custom page, and I'm going to pass some information to the flow to be able to pull back the right information. So we're going to pass the record ID. We're then going to go and retrieve that row by the ID, and then we're going to find that account number, the number that we put in, that company number in the record, and I'm using my action here, which is find a company by the number. We then go back and we can update this information from what we received. So you can see here, we've got the address details here. And then if I scroll a bit further down, we should see the company trading name here. And then we go back to the Power Apple flow and just say, yeah, we've done it. And that closes the window and then refreshes the data for us. So we do have other actions that I can use as well. So if I click here and search for my connector, so Companies House, search this one, Companies House, independent publisher, and we have a list of different actions that we can perform here. So all these different actions are going to provide us different things, different pieces of information. So one we used here was find company by number. It's usually the easiest way to find things. And we also have other actions in here. We can do like find address by number and different things that are kind of all legal and finance stuff that I'm not going to pretend to know significantly, but it's all ways to get different pieces of information. And if I go back here, this is a previous flow run that I did with another company, just to show you that it pulls back all these different pieces of information and brings them all into one place. So the reason I like this connector is about 2 months after I built it and submitted it, I started working on a project where one of the very first requests was they want to retrieve information from company's house. So I went, fantastic, I've made a custom connector for it. We added a button onto the ribbon, and honestly, but by the fact that I'd already done this 2 months ago, it made it so much more beneficial to that customer that we already had something that could do that. And it's available to everyone, not just that one company. I didn't need to develop it specifically for them. I developed it for everyone to use. I can see a question in the chat about the cost. Company's House does not cost anything. You can sign up for a free API key. All you need is the API key to use. It does use premium connectors, so yeah, you do need premium licenses. But with that, that's a very whistle-stop tour about all this. Thank you for your time today.
Matt, excellent job. Very, very much thank you for sharing that with us. It's a really nice end-to-end example. Excellent. Well, thank you everyone for all the amazing presentations of the day. Lee, Andre, and Matt. Matt, again, welcome to the presentation stage. Thank you so much. Yep, that crowds from everywhere. International. We got the crowds from everywhere, everybody. Okay, all right. Now, you may have questions for everyone about all the amazing stuff you saw today. We got you covered. The conversations can continue in our community call conversations. Now, we are using the Power Users forums for this. We have dedicated an individual thread for each individual demo you've seen today. So you can go in and engage with Lee or Andre or Matt and ask questions, collaborate with them. We encourage you to do that. Please don't let the conversation stop at all. Here are the links and the QR codes for you to be able to do that. Follow them on Twitter, get involved, go to those conversation places, and continue those collaborative conversations. We absolutely love it. We'll put the links for these in the chat as well after the call, so you can find them there too. Now, we also would love to hear from y'all. We would like to get some feedback on the different calls. Now, this is for all of our community calls. This is for the bi-weekly M365 and Power Platform development call that you are on now. It is for the SPFX call. It is for the monthly Power Platform call, as well as that Tuesday weekly Microsoft Speakers call. So all four of those calls, we would love to know what you think about them and some feedback, areas that you love, areas that you'd love to see improved, and just provide us all that goodness. And we'd love to hear about it. So definitely please fill that out, and we will put that link in the chat. Vesa already did that. Thank you, Vesa. All right. Well, the recording will be available in 24 hours on the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community YouTube channel, aka.ms/community/videos. You can subscribe today and you will get alerted as soon as it's available. Don't try to download it from Teams unless you're Microsoft. It's just going to end in sadness. Happiness comes with a subscription. So definitely go get subscribed and you'll be alerted as soon as it's available. Follow us on Twitter at M365PNP or the LinkedIn at aka.ms/community/li. The next Power Platform and M365 development biweekly call 2 weeks from today, April 13th, 7 a.m. Next Viva Connection SharePoint Framework, you guessed it, next week, April 6th, same bat time, same bat channel, 7 a.m. Pacific time. You can access all these invites, ak.ms/community/calls, and we would love to see you on the next call. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your week and a wonderful weekend.